What is the stupidest rule you ever had to follow? Freshman year at Riverside Baptist Academy was like stepping into some bizarre alternate reality where normal human behavior was considered sinful. My parents had pulled me out of public school because they thought I needed more Christian values and structure in my life. What I got instead was the weirdest collection of rules I'd ever encountered. The school was run by Pastor Harold Whitman and his wife Margaret, who everybody called Mrs. Whitman behind her back but never to her face. Pastor Whitman was your typical fire and brimstone preacher type, but Mrs. Whitman was on another level entirely. She was this tall, skeletal woman with gray hair pulled back so tight it looked painful. And she had these piercing blue eyes that seemed to look right through you. Mrs. Whitman had opinions about everything: the length of our socks, the way we walked in the hallways, how we sat in our chairs, but her most bizarre obsession was with applause. The first time I witnessed the synchronized clapping was during our monthly chapel service in October. A guest missionary had just finished speaking about his work in Guatemala, and everyone was getting ready to show their appreciation with normal human applause. That's when Mrs. Whitman stood up from her seat in the front row. "Students," she announced in that shrill voice that could cut glass, "we will now show our appreciation in an orderly fashion." She raised her hands above her head and began clapping in this slow mechanical rhythm. Clap, pause, clap, pause, clap, pause. The entire auditorium of 200 students followed along like we were all part of some creepy robot army. It was the most unnatural sound I'd ever heard, this perfectly synchronized, echoing clap that bounced off the walls. After what felt like an eternity, Mrs. Whitman lowered her hands and we all stopped in perfect unison. The missionary on stage looked absolutely terrified. "Much better," Mrs. Whitman said, smoothing down her skirt. "Chaos has no place in God's house." My friend Marcus, who was sitting next to me, leaned over and whispered, "What the hell was that?" I had no answer. This became the routine for every single assembly. Guest speaker finishes talking, synchronized clapping led by Mrs. Whitman. Student performs in the talent show, robot applause. Someone gets recognized for academic achievement, creepy cult clapping. Mrs. Whitman explained her reasoning during one of our mandatory character development classes. Apparently, normal applause was chaotic and undisciplined. She believed that when people clapped at different times and rhythms, it created spiritual discord that was displeasing to God. "The devil thrives in chaos," she told us, pacing in front of the classroom like a drill sergeant. Even something as simple as applause must be done in an orderly, God-honoring way. The weirdest part was watching visitors' reactions during our assemblies. Parents who came for award ceremonies would start clapping normally, then slowly trail off as they realized they were the only ones making noise. Then Mrs. Whitman would stand up, start her mechanical rhythm, and 200 students would join in like we were all programmed. One time, my mom came to watch me receive some academic award. After my synchronized clapping experience, she grabbed my arm in the parking lot. "Honey, what was that clapping thing?" she asked, looking genuinely concerned. "That's just how they do things here, Mom." "That's not normal, David. That was like something out of a horror movie." She wasn't wrong. There was something deeply unsettling about 200 teenagers clapping in perfect unison, while some authoritarian woman conducted us like an orchestra. The synchronized clapping was just one of dozens of bizarre rules at Riverside Baptist Academy. We also couldn't use pens with red ink because it was too bold, couldn't wear anything with zippers because they were worldly, and had to walk on the right side of hallways like we were cars on a road. I transferred back to public school after 1 year. My parents finally realized that Christian values shouldn't include turning their son into a robot who couldn't even clap like a normal human being. Sometimes I still hear that mechanical clapping sound in my nightmares.